We see it all the time now. AI creating these incredible images, writing code. It's just amazing. But what if I told you these super powerful systems have a really surprising and honestly pretty dangerous blind spot? They can be so fragile, breaking down in ways that make you question if we can ever really use them out in the real world. So, what is going on here? And more importantly, how do we fix it? Let's dive. Okay, so check this out. Look at these two pictures. On the left, you've got a top-tier multimodal AI. We ask it what's next to the pizza, and it says, a knife. Perfect. Easy, right? But look at the picture on the right. It's the exact same image, just a little distorted. And now, the model confidently says there's a knife where there's nothing. I mean, it's just gone. This isn't some small mistake, folks. This is a massive failure in perception, and it shows just how vulnerable these systems really are. And that right there gets to the heart of the issue. We're talking about multimodal large language models, or MLLMs. The models that can see images and understand text. They're basically the brains behind all the new vision stuff. But here's the catch. The real world isn't a perfect, clean data set. It's messy. It's got blurry photos, grainy videos, bad lighting, you name it. And these visual degradations, as they're called, make even the smartest AIs just fall apart. That is a huge problem if we're ever going to trust them with things like self-driving cars or analyzing medical scans. Okay, so what do we do about this? Well, the researchers behind this paper, called Robust-R1, came up with a really cool idea. They thought, hey, instead of just trying to give the AI better eyes, what if we taught it to think about why its vision is bad in the first place? What if we taught it to reason about the noise? I love this analogy. Think about it like you're trying to read a street sign, but your glasses are all fogged up. What's the first thing you do? You don't just start guessing the letters, right? You think, whoa, my glasses are foggy, I can't see clearly. And that's exactly what this paper says AI needs to learn. See, the real problem isn't that the models can't see perfectly, it's that they have no idea their vision is compromised. So they just guess with total confidence. And that's how you get some really bad outcomes. And this big idea leads to the paper's key contribution, something they call degradation-aware reasoning. It's a whole new way for an AI to look at an image. Instead of just jumping straight to an answer, the model is trained to go through specific process. First, it has to identify what's wrong with the image. Then, it has to figure out how that problem affects what it's seeing. And only after doing all that does it try to come up with a final, much smarter conclusion. The authors call this the reasoning chain, and it's basically a 4-step mental checklist for the AI. Step 1, identify the type of problem. Is it lens blur? Is it grainy? Step 2, analyze the impact. Okay, so because it's blurry, I can't see the tiny details. Step 3 is pretty cool. It tries to reason about what the image would look like if it were perfect. And then finally, step 4, it pulls all that thinking together to arrive at a much more solid conclusion. So you might be thinking, haven't people tried to fix this before? And yeah, they have. But the old way was kind of brute force. It was all about just showing the model's eyes, the visual encoder, a gazillion distorted images, and just hoping for the best. The Robust-R1 way is all about explicit reasoning. It's not just about training the eyes, it's about training the brain, the language part of the model, to act like a detective, to actually think about the clues of the bad image quality before it tries to solve the mystery. But here's the thing. If you're going to teach an AI a brand new skill like this, you can't just use the old textbooks. You need a completely new curriculum, one that's designed specifically for this new way of thinking. And this is the big gap the researchers ran into. All the existing datasets out there have tons of images and questions and answers, but they were all missing the one thing they needed for this new approach: notes and labels about the image quality itself. The data to teach an AI how to reason about blur and noise. It just didn't exist. So what did they do? They built their own, from scratch. The team put together this amazing new dataset with 11,000 examples. And each one is so much more than just a bad picture with a question. It has that whole step-by-step reasoning chain we talked about, spelling out exactly what the problem is, how it affects things, and how to think past it. This wasn't a dataset for just seeing things. It was a dataset for reasoning about them. And they were so smart about how they made the data super realistic. They broke it down into 4 stages of how an image can get messed up. The first stage is acquisition. This is everything that can go wrong the moment you snap the photo. Like lens blur, motion blur, or even just having a smudge on your camera lens. Then you've got stage 2, transmission. This is all about what happens when you save an image or send it to someone.
Think about those blocky JPEG artifacts you see, or weird lines on a bad scan. They simulated all of that.
Stage 3 covers the environment. This is about the world itself. Was it too dark, so you get all that digital noise? Was it a hot day, causing that wavy heat haze effect? Yep, they modeled that too. And finally, stage 4 is post-processing. These are the things you do after taking the picture. Maybe you try to sharpen it too much and it looks weird, or you slap a watermark on top that covers something important. By combining all 4 of these, they created an incredibly realistic and tough training ground for the AI. Okay, so with this amazing new dataset in hand, they trained the Robust-R1 model in 2 main steps. First up is supervised fine-tuning. This is where they use those 11,000 examples to just teach the model the basic language of this whole reasoning process, how to actually generate those step-by-step chains. Then, once it knows the basics, they switch to reinforcement learning. This is more like a reward system, where they fine-tune the model, encouraging it to be super accurate about spotting degradations, but also to be efficient and not ramble on. All right, so the theory sounds solid. The data they built is super impressive. But the big question is, does it actually work? Well, it's time to put Robust-R on trial. And here we go, the moment of truth. They tested it on R-Bench, which is a benchmark built specifically to hammer models with real-world messed up images. And the result? Robust-R1 set a new state-of-the-art. I mean, look at that bar on the right. It's not just a little better, it's beating both the general-purpose models and the other models that were supposedly be built to be robust. That's a huge win. But honestly, this next part might be even more impressive. Check out this table. It shows what happens when you crank up the degradation, making the images worse and worse. Now, of course, all the models do worse, but look at how much worse. The regular models just fall off a cliff. Their performance tanks. Robust-R1, on the other hand, is way more resilient. It holds on so much better. This proves it's not just better overall, it's just fundamentally tougher when the going gets rough. And this example right here is where it all just clicks into place. On the left, a normal model looks at this blurry, compressed image and gets totally confused about these bare statues. It gives the wrong answer. But on the right, look what Robust-R1 does. It literally starts by saying, okay, this image has lens blur and JPEG compression, so the details are hard to make out. And because it knows that, it correctly figures out that the bears are actually statues. It shows its work, and that's exactly why it gets the right answer. You know, this is about so much more than just getting a higher score on a benchmark. What we're seeing here is a step towards an AI that has a kind of self-awareness. It knows what it can't see properly, and that makes its whole thinking process way more transparent and, ultimately, more trustworthy. And that is why this all matters so much. Think about the really important applications. A self-driving car trying to see a stop sign through the pouring rain. A medical AI looking at a grainy MRI scan searching for a tumor. In those situations, an AI that can say, hold on, I can't see this clearly because of the motion blur, isn't just a nice little feature. It is an absolute must-have for safety. It's the difference between a simple tool and a partner you can actually rely on. So yeah, this work is a really big leap forward. We're starting to move away from just making AI that's powerful and toward making AI that's robust and, in a way, self-aware. By teaching it to reason about its own bad vision, we've unlocked something huge. And that leaves us with a really important question to think about. What's the next blind spot we need to teach our AI to understand as we keep trying to build machines we can genuinely, truly trust?